dominated the world have used money to rule it and have ruled it in their own interest. It looks at a world economic system that has no regard for the poor, that has no regard for the small nations, that has no regard for the poor of the small nations. And the policy is a dignified policy, is not a violent policy, is not a policy of guns. It's a very honorable policy, but it is a very clear policy. It is a policy that calls the poor of the world to stand together, to stand firm together, to struggle together, to struggle for change, to struggle for justice, to struggle through organization, to struggle through will, to struggle through determination, to struggle to build a new kind of world in which your children and mine will walk with more dignity, with better housing, with better opportunity, with better prices, with better response from the World Monetary System. That is the world to which I call you. That is the world for which I struggle, and no power will turn me back from that world. And comrades, if you go and walk with me, if you go and step with me, if you go and move with me, we're moving as warriors. We're moving in determination. We're moving to struggle. We're moving to change that world. No power will turn us back.
Me ever fresh, me no green.
Me coulda never green, dog. Me no chow-chow. No. Ha, 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 ho, ho. Who ya know?
But if change is what we really want to see, ladies and gentlemen, then we must rise up. We must unite. We must advocate. We cannot remain silent. Where are the young men, the young women, the men, the women, the boys, the girls who will put aside political divide and do what is best for Jamaica? Eternal Father, bless our land. Guide us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil powers. Be our light through countless hours. Even our pledge, our national pledge, says before God and all mankind, we cannot see a better Jamaica unless we return to the foot of the cross. Jamaica under God must increase in beauty, fellowship and prosperity, and play our part.
If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
I said I'm happy every day as I travel through this land. I've been mighty blessed by God, and I'm holding to his hand. Yes, mommy, I see you. Yes, the journey's almost over. Shut up. And the battle is nearly won. And I have a feeling. I have a feeling. I have a feeling. I have a feeling in my heart. The best is yet to come. Slide up it. Over there, so. Wanna ready to get, wanna get up now, man. Wanna get up now, man. I feel mad in this place. Let's go. I am happy every day as I travel through this land. I've been mighty blessed by God, and I'm holding to his. Over there, so. I said the journey's almost over. I know the battle is nearly won. And I have a feeling in my heart, the best is yet. Come on, sir. I said the best is yet to come. When I walk through heaven's gates, yeah, I said the first time I'll see Jesus. I can hardly wait. And he showed me to a mansion and said, child, this is your home. And I have a feeling in my heart. You know this one? Listen, shut. Tell it.
Oh, you know.
I want to hear the angels singing. I want to be in that number. I want to hear that trumpet song. We have done now. I want to hear archangel voice. I want to hear archangel. What I want to hear when my name is called. I want to hear. Everybody know I want to hear. I want to hear. I want to hear. I want to hear. Watch out now. I want to see the angel marching. I want to be in that number. I want to hear. I want to hear that trumpet song. I want to hear archangel voice. I want to hear. God bless her now. I want to hear. When my name is called, I want to hear. Everybody do so, everybody do so. If I'm not living for Christ, then I cannot be here. Get something and wave it. Get something and wave it. Get something and. If I'm not living for Christ, then I cannot be happy. Walk out, Christian, walk out, Christian. I only live my life to please. Send me rocking for the road and the star on my phone. I only live my life to please. Live up my life. Come on, man, we have done, man. Everybody, so everybody, so. Live up my life. Lift it, Jesus. This is silent night. What a holy night. But your virgin mother and child. Holy, so tender. Talk to me now. But sweetly, God bless you, God bless you. Let me tell some people, I know one prayer we pray. We pray.
Blood and fire, comrades who are in jungle tonight. On the nose that the word is love. Comrades, I come with a speech, but it's a different speech may I forgive tonight. But before I go into that, we have been saying all night that young people know say time come. And I want to bring up a young man who has looked for himself, him read for himself, him search for himself, and when him done, him realize that the only choice he could choose is the People's National Party. And I want to welcome Comrade Perry.
Hold on. We don't have much time. When I say time, you say come. Time. Senator Murray, somebody asked me, Perry, why aren't you a Labourite? Me ever fresh, me no green.
Me coulda never green dog, me no chow-chow. No. Ha, ho, ho. Who you know? Underpants, Paolo. We don't get in
hold on, cut in, man, hold on.
Me coulda never green.
Hold on, no DJ, man, hold on. I don't have much time. The next Prime Minister, let me shake your hands, so big up yourself, Mark Golding, Jensek, and brother, Dayton Campbell, doctor. Listen, in 1938, the People's National Party was formed out of the vision to help the poor people. It was born out of restlessness of the people seeking for better. And I believe that the People's National Party continues to be the answer for the people. Can I hear an amen? Hold on. In 1995, under the auspices of P.J. Patterson, the most honorable, there was a revitalization and an extension of the new National Youth Service Program, which gave young people the opportunity to earn commandment church. It gave people the opportunity to better themselves. I don't have much time, but hear what? I hear the other people them say, you must choose Jamaica, but you can't choose Jamaica without choosing the people. God bless you.
Me coulda never green dog, me no chow-chow. No. Ha, ho. Me coulda never green dog, me no chow-chow.
Move your flag, comrades.
Comrades, I want to let you know that young man is the former guild president at the University of the West Indies. That is the kind of young people that we attract in the People's National Party.
A corrupt government cannot liberate the people. If the head of the stream is corrupt, the entire river will be also. I do not support corruption. Corruption takes money away from children's education. It deprives hospitals of basic necessities. It means that roads are not fixed. Corruption deepens inequality. It siphons off taxpayers' money to make a few cronies richer with the political connections instead of benefiting the people. This government has been doing everything it can to weaken and undermine the Integrity Commission, which is an institution that I designed as Minister of Justice and brought the legislation to Parliament to fight corruption in this country. I have said it before and I will tell you again. Jamaica cannot move forward without a government built on integrity that embraces principles of good governance in this country.
Lightning and thunder for the JLP. Oh. Corruption in the nation. What a sticky situation. Always see a degradation. Innocent men at the station. Andrew and his cronies getting richer, them a big done. Talking about them helping out the poor. Tell me which one. Juliet, a speaker of the house, me can't believe it. Them mashing the housing trust for people I go feel it. The JLP, them satanic and demonic. Now war fit the youth, them
is a release from the People's National Party Media Unit.
Corruption in the nation. What a sticky situation. Always see a degradation. Innocent men at the station. Andrew and his cronies getting richer, them a big done. Talking about them helping out the poor. Tell me which one. Juliet, a speaker of the house, me can't believe it. Them machine the housing trust for people I go feel it. The JLP, them satanic and demonic. No war fit the youth, them prosper only fit them pocket. I beg you stop it. Corruption in the nation. What a sticky situation. Always see a degradation. Innocent men at the station. The perspective with Perry Cummings Jr. Big up yourself. The best is yet to come. This is my perspective. Telling you my perspective. This is my perspective to bring change that I feel me objective. Scandal after scandal, look where Jamaica come to. Them a rob the money and a thief a lot too. Election tactics, what a disgrace. Them cut off ribbon and the place no safe. Mr. Prime Minister, are you me a address? Police a kill off the youth if you check. Talking about the way country are the best. But though this is my perspective, telling you my perspective. This is my perspective to bring change that I feel me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to you all. It is the 28th of May 2026, and I must say that as the days go by, there's just always something else for us to discuss. I'm telling you. How are you doing, ladies and gentlemen? This is The Perspective and I'm your host, Perry Cummings Jr. Please to touch the like button. If you're watching and you realize that you're unable to participate in the comments, it is because you're not a subscriber. We want to hear your comments. We want to see your comments in the comment section in the chat. And of course, we don't block you. So feel free to express yourself. Subscriber on the road to 10,000 subscribers. It's a steady road, but I'm telling you, the church is moving on. we're on our way. And what a milestone we're expecting to celebrate at 10K. Ladies and gentlemen, normally I start with a song. And the song that came to mind was that old song by Sandra Brooks. Because if there is ever a time, ladies and gentlemen, we need to pray to find the answer. If there is ever a time we need to pray and try and get an answer, now is the time. I'm telling you, I found the answer on my knees, ladies and gentlemen. Satan tried to deceive me when I was in my room one day. As I go, he tried to tell me that my troubles, they would never go away. So confused, with no one to help me or to show me the way. Till I knelt right by my bedside and I started to pray. I found the answer down on my knees. Oh yes, the solution to my problem, Jesus gave them to me. Satan thought he had me bound. Oh, but Jesus, he set me free. And he gave me the answer down on my knees. Hello, if we don't pray under this government here, if we don't pray under this administration, I tell you, prayer changes things. You better start praying in your private time, ladies and gentlemen. Before you go to your bed, pray for Jamaica. When you wake up, pray for Jamaica. Because we need an answer. We need to hear from you. We need a word from you. If we don't hear from you, what will we do? Come on, wanting you more each day. Yes, show us your perfect way. There is no other way that we can live. Come on, everybody, let's sing in the chat, man. Let's sing. We need to hear. Come on, sing, sing. We need to hear from you. Come on, we need a word from you. 'Cause if we don't hear from you, what will we do? Come on, my perspective family, let's go. Wanting you more each day. Show us your perfect way. Yes, there is no other way that we can live. Oh, wanting you more each day. Show us your perfect way. There is no other way that we can live. My God, Andre Crouch, one of the legends in gospel music, you know. But if there is ever a time if there is ever a time that we need to hear from the Lord, ladies and gentlemen, it is now. But let's get into our roll call and we dive right into the fray, the confusion. We have to dive into it because there's so much happening. Let us see where you're viewing from. Let us hear where you're viewing from. Let's go. East Portland. Blessing, Celine Browning. Come on in. Ladies and gentlemen, remember to like up the live. Islington, St. Mary. Come on in. North Carolina, Brooklyn, New York, Falmouth, Trelawney, Mountain View. Come on in. Boynton Beach, Florida, Bagwalk, Bay Road, Westmoreland. You know it, go. Blessings. Silo, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Wisconsin, Listowel, Ontario, Canada, St. Elizabeth, Portmore, England. Come on in. Georgia, Mona, Delaware, upstate New York, Wisconsin again, Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, London, UK, Santa Cruz. Blessings to Uncle Morris out of Delaware, Newcastle, East Portland, Springfield, Massachusetts, Palm Bay, Florida. Come on, Panama City, Lawrenceville, Georgia, South St. Catherine, Kingston, Rosemount, St. James, West Portland. Come on in Kingston 11, Kingston 20, Christiana, Louisville, St. Catherine. Who else? Who's coming next? Pontinella, little fellow. You can do it too, Ponty. Red Hill, Sterling, St. Castle. Red Hill, Sterling, Castle, Hanover. Uncle Johnny out there in North Lauderdale, Florida. Greenville, Mandeville. Who else? Queens, New York, East Portland. Big up ISAT Place because of ISAT Place. Mighty God. Well, I think we're ready to go. St. Elizabeth, Carol, blessings. Donna Thompson, blessings. Shanika, blessings. Paulette, blessings. Daniel Taylor, blessings. To the whole perspective, massive blessings. Carlton Stevens, blessings. Comfort Hall, Manchester, blessings. West Virginia, USA, blessings. New Jersey, Indo. Ransford Smith, New Jersey, blessings. Yeah. I think we've gone through our the roll call. Let us dive into the excitement. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start the program by reminding us of just how hot the place is and expected to be. We came under warning to prepare for intense heat this summer, and sometimes we don't take these things very seriously now. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen.
And staying on environmental issues, at least one local climate scientist is urging Jamaicans to be on high alert as temperatures are expected to climb in the summer months. The advice comes as the United Kingdom records its warmest day ever in the month of May and at least 7 heat-related deaths in France.
Temperatures soaring across Europe and experts are already pointing to climate change. On Monday, the United Kingdom recorded its hottest day ever for the month of May. Temperatures climbed to 34.8 degrees Celsius. Then on Tuesday, the record was again broken as temperatures reached 35 degrees.
It is concerning, but I guess because as a scientist, it is what we have been saying all along that would happen, so it is kind of expected. And actually, I don't think we have seen the very worst cases that can really occur yet either.
For Jamaica, Manager of Climate Services at the Met Service of Jamaica, Jacqueline Spence Hemmings, said the island is not there yet as it relates to a heat wave. In fact, last May was hotter. However, it is still warmer than normal. She says there is a certain threshold that the temperature must meet before it is classified as a heat wave, and that threshold varies each month. She told us that places like the UK, which are in a temperate region, have a different threshold for a heat wave. So while it is unusual for the UK to experience high temperatures in May, for tropical countries like Jamaica, the heat season spans April to October.
I have seen where both airports recorded some days of temperatures higher than 1 degree than what they would normally get for the maximum temperatures. So for Manly, the maximum temperature expected for May is about 31.9, and they have recorded several days of 33s, 32.9. Several of those have been seen. Similarly, for Sangster Airport, we have seen days where they have recorded at least 1 degree higher than the maximum temperatures that we are used to for May for those locations.
But over the next few weeks, with the Super El Nino in the forecast, heat waves are likely in the island. And so the Met Service is urging Jamaicans to take the necessary precautionary measures, limit their time outdoors, stay hydrated, and wear the necessary protective gear.
We have been sending out what we call sub-seasonal forecast, which is a weekly update of what the temperatures are like, and all of the temperatures for June are showing above normal. So it's like 60% above normal, the normal threshold temperatures that are expected for the duration of the month of June, in addition to drier conditions. So we at the Met Office are basically saying, listen to whatever information is coming out of the authorities as it relates to this, because it is not something to be taken lightly.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the hotter the battle, them say the sweeter the victory. But Jamaica is very, very hot. As the experts said just now, stay hydrated, especially for those who are in Jamaica. You hear them say limited time outdoor. Stay hydrated and out of the sun as much as possible. These things are very serious. As a matter of fact, wasn't it the other day we heard that the heat can affect your kidney? So let us please take these things very, very. It would be remiss of me to not communicate these things to my viewers. As a matter of fact, the drought committee prepares itself for multi-hazard year. You know, drought. These things are they're all possibilities, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. Jamaica is bracing for what officials describe as a multi-challenging year as the Drought Management Committee steps up national preparedness. At a meeting on Tuesday, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Water, Environment and Climate Change, Wayne Robertson, warned that increasing climate variability requires a stronger coordination to protect lives and livelihoods. Meteorological experts say the island could face periods of heavy rainfall and severe dryness, raising the risk of flash flooding, drought, bushfires and heat stress, all within the same season. The National Water Commission reports that 27 systems are already affected, impacting more than 24,000 customers, particularly in St. Catherine, Clarendon, and the Northeast. Meanwhile, the Jamaica Fire Brigade recorded 487 bushfires between January and March. The authorities are urging the public to avoid illegal burning practices as the country prepares for months of unpredictable weather.
I wonder how the people in the West are coping with the pending dangers regarding our weather conditions. You hear about 1 to 3 different hurricanes that may affect the Caribbean. Now you're hearing of unusual temperatures. Jamaica will become very hot over the summer season. And you have to ask the question, ladies and gentlemen, how the people manage in Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, St. James, Hanover, and in other places who don't have roofs, a tarpaulin on the people them roof. I wonder how they will manage. I wonder how they manage with the heat. I'm trying to recall if this government, if they have ever implemented a water drive of some sort. And tarpaulin can get very hot in, ladies and gentlemen. Where was the water drive though? Or where is the water drive? I think this is something that the baby on the breast could probably come up with. Where is the water drive to ensure that our fellow brothers and sisters have access to clean drinking water? We must be hydrated during this season. With the El Nino and other climate phenomena, you have to ask yourself the question, what is the government doing to ensure that our fellow brothers and sisters, particularly those who have still not yet recovered from Hurricane Melissa, what is the government doing to ensure that these people have access to water? Where is the water? And Debbie Jervis, as you say, if you ever try and go to these beaches, even to some of these rivers too, you are being barred from accessing our local beaches. Where are the cooling centers? What mechanism is being implemented to prepare Jamaica for the unprecedented times ahead? Let me take my time, please, to like the live tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and subscribe. These questions are relevant. It cannot be that the experts, the elderly Opal Watson, I wonder how the elderly will be managing the heat. I am not sure if these people having access to water. So how? Minister of Water, Mr. Samuda, do you have any hydration plan? Any water initiative? Anything that will be seeking to ensure that our people are hydrated? How many of these people in Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, St. James, Hanover, and other places will have to be suffering in the heat because they don't have access to water? As a matter of fact, the people in Westmoreland are very worried, ladies and gentlemen. And they should be. They should be. They are very worried because there doesn't seem to be any preparation from the government's part to ensure that our citizens are ready to face the hurricane season, and this is very concerning.
We move from concerns about heat to rain. We gauge the responses from some residents in Westmoreland about how they're preparing for the hurricane season. Kimberly Petty reports.
It's a race against the time as many residents in Westmoreland try to make preparations ahead of June 1, which signals the start of the Atlantic hurricane season. But even as experts predict a 55% chance of a below average season, residents say they are worried.
Me afraid, you know. Me afraid because the hurricane hold Tapagan this time because that the part they not finish. The house up, mash up. The zinc them gone, they only replace back, but they don't nail as it. And the whole of the hall part a leak and the kitchen, pure water. Mash up my fridge and my stove.
Laura Anglin, a market vendor who plies her trade in Savannah Lamar, says that she resides in Bath District. And while her house was assessed, she is still waiting patiently for the government's roofs grant. And she's not alone.
One side I always have a zinc, but the next 3 sides not have one none. The 4 sides not have one none. And from the hurricane go by NIS every minute and say my name don't come down as yet.
Miss Carmen lives in the flood-prone area of Rickett Street in Savannah Lamar, and she's fearful that she'll be flooded out yet again if the drains aren't cleaned early. We spoke with another resident who didn't wish to speak on camera. She says she received the $500,000 roof grant, but complained that there was a deduction of $40,000 after tax, plus a delivery fee of $70,000, and so the money, she argues, is just not sufficient.
We need more help. We need more help from the Prime Minister. We need more help. We need more help because what he give us cannot help. I pray we pray because people down here still living under tent, you know. People down here still not have nowhere to live. People down here still live outside on the streets, living a family home where so stabilized and all of them. So the people just button up somewhere and live right now.
Kimberly Petty, TVJ News.
How unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen. I think on that note, there is supposed to be a documentary being released soon. I believe Mr. Mark Golden, I believe Andre Stevens from PDTV, and other different persons, they are going to be a part of a documentary of some sorts. We're going to see how best we can jump over to see what that documentary is going to be about, highlighting the realities that the people are facing. Anywhere Comrade Leader Mark Golden is, I'm going to be there to see what is happening. I believe Gensec Dayton Campbell, Dr. Dayton Campbell, is also a part of that documentary. So we want to see what that is about. I believe it premieres at 8 p.m. So we want to hear what is really happening on the ground. Tonight, Doreen Bennett, thank you for the reminder. But these realities, ladies and gentlemen, it's not propaganda. It is not hearsay. It is not people being mischievous. The government has failed the people of this country. Am I being real? The government has failed the people of this country. There is absolutely no excuse. It's not a lack of resource. It's not a lack of funding. It's not a lack of support. The government, yes, journalist Noel Phillips, I'm getting to understand. It is his work. So we want to go over there and listen. I believe it's going to be premiered on his channel. So as usual, we can screen share and listen what the documentary is about. I believe it's about half an hour long. But this government has failed the people of this country, unknown galleys. And if we are objective enough, there can be no other conclusion that this government has failed. Look at how the people have been suffering 7 months now. 7 months now, ladies and gentlemen. And what do we have to show for the third term? The third term that was met with the crisis. Let me tell you what we have to show for our third term. I can tell you. The government pockets 7% of the 1 billion allocated to the poor under the Solidarity Program. That is what we have to show, ladies and gentlemen. In a time where people would do well with this type of financial assistance, the government of Jamaica, the Andrew Holness administration, thought it was better, for them to give $770 million back to the pool of funds that they have there by the government to reduce debt, instead of seeing to it that the people who need the money most get the money. This is what the government is doing with the money that belongs to the people. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen? Can you imagine? And you want to tell me about a caring government? You want to tell me about a caring government? I don't understand. Where is the caring government? You're going to tell me that people who are on path and NIS can't get no benefit? Because they are on path and NIS, they don't qualify to benefit from the Solidarity Program? You're going to tell me that the eligibility requirements, they are so rigid that the poor victims of Hurricane Melissa, they cannot be eligible to receive from the Solidarity Program? You're telling me that many Jamaicans signed up applications and still didn't get a response from the government to get assistance out of the Solidarity Program. So what you do, you don't see to it that you relax the eligibility requirements. You don't see to it that you get the money to the people. You pocket it and you go reduce debt. I did a little video over there by TikTok. I posted it on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to play it here because I believe it drives home the point, and then we're going to read the article from the Gleaner regarding the 70% being used to reduce debt instead of helping the most poor and vulnerable. It is a disgrace. It is a disgrace. Let us go and listen to that bit of commentary that I did. This is embarrassing, and I'm asking the opposition to really push back against this. There's absolutely no way the government should get away with this. No way, ladies and gentlemen. No way. Absolutely no way. This is unbecoming. This is unbecoming. Ladies and gentlemen, we heard some big news today, and I think it's very important for us to slow down, take a look at the facts, and come to a sensible conclusion. So there's a story coming out in Jamaica right now that people are reacting to emotionally, and I can understand that. But before we jump to conclusions and start to rant with 100 different TikTok videos, we need to get the facts so we can come to a sensible conclusion as to what really happened. So here are the facts. The government allocated $1 billion to support vulnerable Jamaicans. But out of the $1 billion, $230 million was actually distributed. Simply means that around $770 million, which is like 77%, was left unused. That unused portion was returned and applied to debt reduction. The $1 billion was allocated to the Solidarity Program, which is a program set up to really and truly help the poor and the vulnerable Jamaicans, in our country. Persons are just focusing on what happened. I want to give a different perspective as to why it happened, because the why is more important than the what. What we can all agree on is that the government did not take money out of the people's hands in practical terms, nor was the money redirected payments that were already made to the people. Instead, what happened was that the majority of the money was never accessed or distributed in the first place. Long and short of it, I try to make these conversations very simple. The long and short of it is that the system failed. Why so much money was left on the table? The truth is, there were strict eligibility rules. Some of the most vulnerable Jamaicans, they simply did not qualify. Others were excluded because they were on programs like PATH and the NIS. That's just one part of the conversation. The other part of the conversation is the administrative bottlenecks, the delays in approval. So some persons applied to benefit from the program and their applications were just not processed in time. When you talk about limited outreach and communication, this is a big part of it. How many of our most vulnerable Jamaicans, especially those coming out of the Hurricane Melissa catastrophe, knew about this $1 billion in the Solidarity Program? For me, this seemed like an intentional way to keep information from the people so that they could not benefit from the program. And when you look at the collection gaps, some of the approved individuals didn't collect the funds, and that is also a part of the conversation that I will not be disingenuous about. You had persons who were approved and they didn't collect the funds. One could argue though that the persons who were approved probably just could not go and collect the funds. Here is my problem though. In a crisis, a relief program should really be designed to maximize access, not to restrict it. In a time when people are still trying to recover from the Hurricane Melissa, the Category 5 hurricane that totally destroyed the western part of the island. if you're having a relief program that is to really and truly help the people to bounce back and to build back better than before, then this program should not have all of these restrictions. You should really and truly relax the eligibility criteria so that more persons can benefit from it, and that is the truth. So what would normally happen is that unspent money would go to the government, go back to the government to reduce deficits or to support debt reduction, like what we're seeing in this case. My issue again is that we're in the middle of a crisis. I don't think there's a place for that standard procedure. You simply need to wake up and understand that thousands of Jamaicans are still suffering. They've not bounced back. We're entering into another hurricane season. That standard procedure could have stayed. Find a way to get the money to the people. If it's a communication problem, improve communication. If it is an eligibility problem, relax the eligibility criteria so that more people can be eligible to receive from the Solidarity Program. In a time like this, there's just no reason for you to take $700 million and put it back into the central pool to spend on God knows what. I'm going to end on this. Who is the system ultimately designed to serve? It cannot be that in a time of crisis, $770 million can go unused during a time of hardship like what you're experiencing now. The issue for me then is not just the funding because the money was there. It's about the design and the execution. There's just absolutely no way we can be satisfied with a failure of this magnitude. $770 million should not be going back to the government to reduce debt when we have so many Jamaicans who are still out there, poor and vulnerable, children, single mothers, people still under tarpaulins, people still living in their cars, people looking up at the open heavens. $770 million gone back to reduce debt. It's madness. Ladies and gentlemen, what the government continues to do is to undermine the poor and the vulnerable of this country. Strict eligibility requirements for what? Strict eligibility requirements for what? Haven't you seen what has taken place in the western part of the island? What eligibility could be so necessary that would leave out a starving family, a homeless family, homeless children, single mothers, no father there to support them? What could be so demanding, ladies and gentlemen, that would not qualify a family, a single mother, to benefit from the Solidarity Program? They have no roof. They have no house. A lot of them sleeping in cars. What could be so necessary, Mr. Prime Minister? What is so needed that instead of seeing to it that the people are being assisted, you take $770 million and you take back the money and go reduce debt that the government owe to foreign investors and other people? So not even the reduction of debt will not benefit these people, not even indirectly we can say that these people will benefit. The government has used money that was allocated for poor people to get them out of debt. It is wicked. It is evil. It is unconscionable. It is inhumane. It is just dog heart. It is callous. And this, ladies and gentlemen, deserves greater outrage. This deserves Jamaica. This deserves a response from Jamaica that we have never seen before in a long time. Because let me tell you something. You realize that the whole Granville conversation has died out. You realize that Granville, the people in Granville, they are not even coming out as often to come out and protest. So I'm wondering what it will take for Jamaica to really and truly wake up and recognize that this government has no intention of helping the people who are still suffering after Hurricane Melissa. What will it take? I hear people talk, I signed the petition, I post the petition, and Jamaica not signing the petition that Marvin is doing. And while we know the petition will not remove the Prime Minister because we're not stupid people, you need an election. That is how it goes. That's what I tell people last night. Signing the petition is one thing. It will get attention. Yes, it will show the international authorities that a certain amount of Jamaicans are not comfortable with the leadership of this country. But the way in which we're going to get rid of the Andrew Holness administration is by going to the polls and voting for the People's National Party. The Jamaican people were silent on Granville. That is already becoming a faded conversation. And now we hear that the Solidarity Program was raided. There was a misuse of the funds under the Solidarity Program because we have to call it for what it is. We cannot pretty it up. The funds that was allocated, the $1 billion. The $1 billion that was allocated to help the poor and the most vulnerable, especially after Hurricane Melissa, was taken. 70% of it was taken by the government and it was applied to reduce debt. I don't think this Prime Minister will ever resign. If you do a proper character analysis of Mr. Andrew Holness, you would know that he would prefer die first before resigning. And I say that with every seriousness in my body. The arrogance of this Prime Minister will never allow him to resign. He prefers to play in your face and see you suffer and laugh and grandstand in Parliament before he resigns. I'm not sure if persons have not done a character sketch of this man. That is where I want to go with it, unknown Gallus. Everybody wants to bash opposition, but look at what the government is doing. How quick. Somebody pinned the petition in the chat and let me pin it on the screen again. How quick people are to criticize Mark Golding. How quick I see people are ready to go out there. You know that people are still talking about the donation funds that Mr. Mark Golding was so transparent about. He told us figure by figure what exactly the donations that he collected, what it did for the people of Jamaica. How many opposition we've seen? How many opposition we've seen in our country willing to take matters into their own hands and assist the people of this country? You hear them talking about is the first opposition that them see create a donation platform. Yes, because Mark Golding is not sitting down and waiting for handouts from the government. We know that the Prime Minister of this country will not allocate any money to the opposition to help their constituencies. So this opposition took matters into their own hands as the alternative government created a trustable platform and encouraged their support systems to donate. And we could give an account for every dollar spent. If you want to see the breakdown, ask the treasurer of the People's National Party to provide that information. It is there. It is public knowledge. Where is the outrage, though, about the donation money that we've received from Hurricane Beryl, the $100 million that the government has not spent? We received 1.44 billion, and 7 months after Hurricane Melissa, only 1.8% has been spent. They plan to spend some more out of it now on housing. If the Auditor General's report wasn't made public, you wouldn't hear anything from them about how they plan to use the money. We're quick. Jamaicans, they are quick to criticize Mark Golding. They are quick to criticize the PNP. You see how they are quick to criticize the Keisha Burchell. But nobody is outraged about the solidarity program that the government has raided again. $770 million that could have been put to better use. Look how many Jamaicans are suffering in Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth. Look how many of our children are unaccounted for. A lot of them can't go to school. Them not in a school uniform that wash away. No book, no paper, no nothing. And they take 70% of the money because nobody now collect it. Nobody now apply for it. Nobody don't want it. That is the narrative that the government is communicating to the people of this country, you know. That nobody wants to sign up for the solidarity program. So they're going to use the money for something else. Let us reduce the debt. It is sickening. It is sickening. Let us take a break. When we come back, we talk about some more issues, ladies and gentlemen. Like the life, the goal every live is 500 likes. You know. Soon come.
Area where the JLP are going with Perspective family. Big up yourself. Blood and fire comrades. I and I is asking for a change. We have to mash down Babylon. Time come now. Andrew them a wrap up the money like wow. Them turn taxpayers in a big cash cow. The people them work for nothing big fiasco. Time come for people fi start unite. Time come fi protect the human right. Time come JLP no have no plan. The plan is to kill, destroy, steal and rob. The devil is loose, my friend, and he loves the color green. Hey, yeah.
Breeze Petty and Hair Care Mobile Services, where we provide gel, male and kids pedicure. We also offer locks, kids and natural hairstyling services right in the convenience of your own home. For appointments, please contact us at 1-876-507-7484. Remember, we'll take care of you, not only the crown of your head, but also the soles of your feet.
And Protherapy, we are here to help you to bring ultimate relaxation to your feet. Our hot stone, Swedish, and deep tissue massage services are here to help you to get rid of tensions, minor swellings, and aches and pain, increase flexibility and circulation. If you are having any heart or circulatory diseases, then this might not be for you. Reach out to us and let's see if you can secure yourself with a foot massage for as low as $4,500. Thank you for choosing Pearl Therapy, the healing hub.
Are you frustrated with your skincare? Are you tired of acne, blemishes, scars, sagging skin, wrinkles, discoloration? Why not enjoy our wide array of products from skin, hair, and personal care? Place your frustration on our shoulders, and we will get you smiling again. The power of our products are in our formulation and ingredients. Listen to our customer testimonial. This is what she has to say.
Oh my gosh, look at my face. I've been using these products for a year, exactly 1 year. If you have not tried them, you need to try them. They really work. Look at my skin.
Visit our website or contact us at 917 855-762-04. Make it Tony and Organics and order yours today.
Food is designed to be felt, not just tasted. Soft warmth, gentle richness, a harmony that melts effortlessly on the tongue. At Cummings Exquisite Caterers, every dish is an invitation, guided by passion, finished with elegance. We cater for life's most meaningful moments, elegant weddings, private celebrations, and much more. With a serene repast center just 10 minutes away from two major cemeteries. We are located at 38 Dublin Spanish Town Road. Reach out to us, 876-573-9124. Cummings Exquisite Caterers, where desire meets dining.
Our first social media question tonight comes from Instagram. Shania in Kingston, she says, low voter turnout suppresses the effectiveness of a democratic society. Many Jamaicans refuse to vote because they believe both parties are corrupt. What would you say to the significant population of non-voters? And if elected, how will you hold politicians accountable for offenses against the people instead of protecting them?
So in this instance, the question, you have 90 seconds to answer, and we begin with Dr. Holness.
Corruption is a serious problem in our country, and corruption requires strong leadership. From my position as Prime Minister, I have taken action against any member of my political party that has been involved or accused of anything that suggests corruption. In my own case, I have been investigated for a year with an expert forensic auditor. The findings of that report have suggested no corruption. There have been no charges. Every aspect of my report, every aspect of my personal life and my personal financial details are in the public domain. I am the politician about which Jamaica knows the most. And therefore, I am the politician who can stand with the greatest moral authority to treat with any matter that is considered corrupt, as I have done in the past. And I want to give this assurance to the Jamaican people that you know me, you know about me, you can trust me, and you know that I stand against corruption.
Mr. Golding has the opportunity to respond to that social media question as well.
Andrew, what they know about you is that you have 28 bank accounts, that you received several $1 million in cash deposits from anonymous donors in your bank account, that your companies had transactions of over $400 million, several thousand transactions between them, and that Positive Jamaica Foundation, a non-profit which you are intimately connected with, provided resources which you use for personal investments through your personal company. We have signed the Leadership Code of Conduct developed by Integrity Commission. All of our spokespersons and myself have signed. None of your people have signed it. I am committed to ensuring that all members of the executive, when we form government, will have their Integrity Commission declarations published, not just the leader of the opposition and what should happen, but hasn't happened in your case because you're not certified, the Prime Minister. So the whole question that has been asked is an excellent question. And we really need to step up our vigilance against corrupt behavior, nepotism and cronyism. The volume of scandals under this Jamaica Labour Party government is unprecedented. Over the number of ministers who have had to be removed from frontline duty, many of them parked in the naughty corner in OPM rather than being sacked. It is a disgrace to the country, and your personal situation where you're operating under a deep cloud because your Integrity Commission declarations are not certified, also is something which Jamaica cannot go forward with.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is The Perspective, and I'm your host, Perry Cummings Jr. Wow. I want to stick around a bit on the 70% of the $1 billion under the Solidarity Program being used to reduce debt. I really want to amplify this conversation some more. Let me just get through this article and then we move on. But I think it needs some more light. So spare me 2 minutes or so. A revelation by Dion Jennings, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, that about 77% or 770 million of the 1 billion set aside for the government's solidarity program has been returned for debt reduction, triggered grave concern among some members of the parliamentary committee on Wednesday. The solidarity program, which was announced in June 2025, targeted at vulnerable segments of the population, was intended to provide a one-time grant of $20,000 to $50,000 individuals as part of the country's social protection efforts. Under the program, grants are provided to applicants who meet the criteria, such as the elderly, the disabled, and vulnerable persons who are not in school or employed and are not benefiting from other social programs. Can you imagine? Jennings, who was appearing before Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, the PAAC, said of the 18,000 applicants to the Solidarity Program, 11,521 had been approved for payment, totaling 230 million. This means that 60% of the applicants were selected for disbursement. Quizzed as to the plans for spending the balance of the money, Jennings replied, "We are at the end of the financial year, so the money unspent would have been returned for debt reduction." You're listening to this, ladies and gentlemen? Do you hear this? Because we're at the end of the year, I find this somewhat humorous. Even in this very serious conversation. This is very funny to me. But PAAC member Dr. Alfred Dawes was not satisfied with the explanation given by the Permanent Secretary as to why about 77% of the money was not allocated to vulnerable Jamaicans. According to Dawes, the country is still reeling from revelations that the 1.44 billion of donor aid was barely spent, and now we're being informed that there is 770 million unspent, which was earmarked for the most vulnerable in our country. Let's stick a pin right there, because what persons need to understand, when something is earmarked means to set aside or designate resources, usually money, time, or personnel, for a specific purpose, destination, or recipient. In a financial context, my friend would say, context matters. In the financial context of it all, it is reserving funds for a specific project so they cannot be spent on anything else. God Almighty. Are you understanding what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? Are you understanding where I'm going with this?
And if the enemy are fire, you can't stand up like stooge. You can't go on like a fool. You have to fire back. Somebody load up and say, pop, 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 pop. Lord God, badam, bam, bam, bam. Jesus Christ, what is what pop, 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 pop. Jesus Christ, war tonight, Bishop. Warfare tonight. Warfare. Badam, bam, bam, bam. Boom, boom.
It is very important for us to understand that bit of information there. Let us not gloss over it. the money was earmarked. It is expected that the funds are used for its intended purpose. This is also a reason why we have a problem when the NHT is being raided and the funds from the NHT are being used in the consolidated fund, because NHT funds are earmarked to address matters of housing. This is the same thing here. If the $1 billion in the Solidarity Program was earmarked for a specific purpose, which is to help the most vulnerable Jamaicans, why then is the permanent secretary telling us that the government is using the money to reduce debt now? Doesn't make any sense. A real-time audit by the Auditor General had revealed that the government spent only 26 million or 1.8% of the 1.44 billion in cash donations for those displaced by Hurricane Melissa. The report also found that funds from Hurricane Beryl, which impacted Jamaica in 2024, were still unspent up to April this year. Dawes argued that the conceptualization of the Solidarity Program was wrong from the outset if people are suffering and we are sitting on 770 million that went back to the consolidated fund for debt payment. However, Jennings pointed out that the Solidarity Program was a one-off initiative, hear the excuse, that was interrupted by the general election and by Hurricane Melissa. She said the ministry had made every effort to accommodate persons who applied for the benefit under the program. The excuse is poor, deplorable excuse. Madness. Committee chairman Peter Bunting said a number of students from his constituency who are attending tertiary institutions had applied for the benefit but were told they did not qualify. I couldn't understand the logic of that. Why, by virtue of you attending a tertiary institution, were you disqualified from the assistance? Maybe the criteria could have been loosened somewhat to allow the full use of the 1 billion, he said. And that is my point exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, hear my perspective and hear me well. To hell with your criteria. Relax the eligibility requirements so that the full amount of the 1 billion can be used. You have this rigid eligibility criteria for what? How many tertiary students would love to benefit from those $20,000 or $50,000? And your excuse is that it was a one-off thing? It doesn't make any sense. Given that the government only used 23% of the funds, Bunting said a decision should have been taken to widen up the pool of beneficiaries. Yes. However, Jennings stressed that the Solidarity Program had a specific criteria in terms of the target group that the government was trying to reach. Wow. The aim was to address persons who did not have any support at all. That is what she said. She said the government had other suites of programs to assist students at the tertiary level, I tell you. But Bunting argued that the suites of program for tertiary level students are woefully inadequate, and the quantum of assistance was very small relative to the cost of tertiary education. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot. Sister Marshy calling. Go ahead, Marshy.
Any comment?
Yes. Blessings.
Bless. You know, the creation story. God tell Adam and Eve, eat up this fruit. But if you eat up that fruit, thou shalt surely die.
Surely, yes.
And now the devil just come and put one word in it, you know.
And change the
word.
Yes.
Not. Surely die. Yeah. And, you know, me look on it and Now, I'm in agreement with Satan, but some of Satan there can take a leaf from it and look. It might make some sense. The chief executive chairman of NARA is
executing officer, the Prime Minister said, Marshy.
Execute.
Yes, I saw him say. Yes, him say a chief
executive. Is the chief executive chairman. Because if it's the chief executive chairman, you know, when you go and spell the word chief, you can move this C and put a T.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to tell me where it's pronounced, you know.
Yes, yeah.
You can't nobody anything. But instead of a chief executive, you have a chief.
Yes.
You know the rest go.
Yes.
But may I tell you something, Perry? Me stop beat up my mouth now. In order for Jamaica to make a change, Holness can't help us. Like send the police them in a summer year of them and kill out someone of them.
You think so, Marshy?
It sound good.
No.
It sound good. You know it sound good. But go on. Don't the police and do that and then still love him?
Well, yes. You have a point there.
Right. And don't you want people to love you? And the people that decide to rise up, think about it. Andrew Holness was a part of the administration that killed 70 of people down in Tivoli Garden, you know. 2010, you remember? He was a part of the government back then. And many of us believe that Tivoli people would never vote JLP again.
True.
Guess what? They vote JLP even more. So they like it. So give the people what they like. And Burning Spear did a song, you know. And it go like this. Me give them what they want, yes, me give them. Me give them what they want, yes, me give them. So, give them what they want. So, you notice, they kill Bujo. And the women of the GLP said very little. Think about it. The women of the GLP said very little bit also. But there's a women's movement in the GLP. Them not say nothing. You want me to tell you something about the women movement in the GLP?
Yes.
When George Wright did use this tool and massacre the woman. You remember, said the women of the GLP circle around George Wright and protect him? Yeah, that is what the people don't like. So you give them what they want, and we out there kill up everything, you know. And the one that's realize that the people are easy because the election before when they bring up a 10,000 argument, you know, or 18,000 argument, and fix the argument like I get them, I'll get 18,000, you know. And the one that they run go vote, and then condemn, and come back with solidarity. They must think of the song where the people ever think and say, solidarity. Oh, solidarity.
Oh, God.
So hear me now. Then trick them with the solidarity. Where the solidarity money then? This solidarity money gone right back from where it came. The people that love this, the people that look how Andrew Holness trick them. Andrew Holness said the first budget when we did not put on 2,500 for the minimum wage. Right? When he come and read that budget, take back 1,000 to 1,500.
Yes.
You don't get them one. I hear me. They don't get to it. I remember get to it 1st of July.
Something like yes.
You know what the inflation in here more that long time. So that the $1,000 gone in a thinking fund. Right? the people them when them get the money to give. Them done so that's appalling. Yesterday did they come out from protest?
Boy, I wonder what they're waiting on.
They're not serious. We are just not serious. And today, my grandson, I never even know that young man kind of on computer anyway. I never even know say him watch news, you know. And the guy today come to me and he said, Daddy, You know, so Jamaica will come like 80. He said, why you say so? He said, you know, so what government will do? Me never know, say, man, I just our 6 farmer, you know. But we never know, say, the man I watch and see what really are going on, you know. It will come like 80 people, you know. Because, listen, we say this over and over, I'm not getting a reason not to say it again, you know. Slavery better when to work go on with, you know. Alright. Never put something to you. And I don't want nobody mix up when I say and believe say me support slavery. But look at this. In the days of slavery, back when master find your clothes, right? They find place you live, and they find food to you. All you have to do is come and work. Now we're free. You're in a job. The job can't pay nothing. You can't find bus fare. You can't find food. You can't find rent. You can't find light. But you're working. Now, between the two, God, you have a choice to make, you know.
Boy.
Which one look like it better to you?
Boy, all I say is this. The Mr. Holness has sent on the JCF on the people them too, you know.
They are kind of afraid. Then you know, certain people that like it, man. Into the people that like it, then put it. Look at thing when I be the journalist at talk. The previous administration take out an insurance. If the aisle pass, I think much is $72 or 62, somewhere thereabout. The insurance would pay, and we wouldn't feel the effect of the increase because we pay the insurance.
Yes.
$7 something per liter. No. Because the PNP foresee what could have been, you know, or what would have happened.
Yes.
The GLP, come on, the GLP move the age. So they're not going to pay the insurance, but they continue to say it's $7.50. That is robbery.
It is.
And I know them I take the 7, and nobody knows, you know. Then they sit down saying, with the 1 p.m., Mr. Holness, send the police going out in community again, like mostly in a labor right community, because they love you. Send the police go back in there. You like what you do in Valley, you understand? Because you was a part of the administration who go down Valley, go murder people them down there, and what they come out and vote in for GLP same way. That means they love it. So the police don't walk around and the amount of people that kill since the year start. Think about it. The people that say 1 p.m. they still love it same way. When it's come out and tell them any lie you want to tell them. And you have some journalists who claim that they are journalists. They are in support of it. And the people that support the thing, give them what they want. You know, done nothing wrong with our Holness. Put it on for them love it. We out here idiot. We out here idiot. And you notice, I said this somewhere else, I'm for a while now. Juliet Holness, well, she is tampon nanny. She control over the side of the house. No dog bark when she talk. Take your seat.
Yes.
Now, take your seat and switch off mic. One man mic he couldn't switch off. One minute don't switch off my mic, you know. Don't switch off my mic. He couldn't switch off 1 minute on mic. But the others now, people like Juliet Holness will take on Nikita version. No. Not like that, Juliet Holness is minister without purpose. It's not the Ministry of National Security Office. Somebody asked what contribution.
Yes.
Juliet Cuthbert Flynn into Jamaica politics. What contribution?
I don't know.
Nothing. She just there to rank herself and tell you about Dash Rebellion, pregnancy and then something. That's all. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn. Nothing at all. She makes no contribution. You have another minister that this time is a man when named Arbin Hill. He minister without purpose in the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. What him do? What you say the thing what him do? Tell me something meaningful when they. Nothing.
Just to take money.
Salary. People don't like them. Give them what they want, Mr. Holness. Send police from them again. Raise price from them. See to do, Mr. Holness, so you run the place. But Uncle say, keep on doing what you're doing, Holness. You're going to find that you ruin Holness. Time I go catch up on you, Holness. You better believe it.
Alright, Mashi. Blessings.
Fully done.
Yo, Mashi saying that Mr. Holness must continue to do what he's doing. You know, I wouldn't want Mr. Holness to send more police officers to destroy our Jamaicans. But if the people don't seem to have a problem with it, ladies and gentlemen, I can see where Mashi is coming from. Keep on doing what you're doing, bro God. I tell you, but the people seems to be sedated either way. It doesn't seem to be a problem. Well, Mashi mentioned something about Nikisha Burchell. Touching and going here, we want to talk about Nara again. The opposition raised concerns about the appointment, and we're going to get into that before the documentary with current leader Mr. Mark Golden and Jen Sek, Dr. Dayton Campbell is a part of. We want to see what Noel Phillips did there. Heard that it was some good work. Nikisha Burchell is not going to be apologizing. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not apologize to the House Speaker. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Do you think Nikisha Burchell should apologize, or should she continue to be forthright? Listen to this.
To a primetime news follow-up now. Member of Parliament for South St. James, Nikisha Burchell, says she has no intention of apologizing to Speaker of the House, Juliet Holness. This despite backlash after Burchell likened Mrs. Holness's oversight of parliamentary proceedings to that of a controlling wife. Shamela Pullen reports.
A day after 3 government parliamentarians condemned remarks made by a PNP MP for South St. James, Nikisha Burchell, as rude and inappropriate, Ms. Burchell is hitting back. Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith, Finance Minister Favour Williams, and State Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn, criticized Ms. Burchell for what they described as disgraceful remarks directed at House Speaker Juliet Holness. In an interview, Ms. Burchell said Ms. Holness exhibited controlling tendencies similar to women who dominate their husbands.
When I sought to share my experience working with the current speaker, it wasn't a personal attack.
For that, Ms. Burchell says she will not apologize to Mrs. Holness.
I did not speak to the speaker and her marriage. I made 2 analogies in my interview, and this was not in Parliament. In my interview, I made 2 analogies. I said, there's a distinct difference between maintaining order in Parliament and controlling. One can control in the way school marms control schoolyards. One can control how you control at home, be it with your husband, your children, whomever. That was the extension of the analogy. However, control has no place in Parliament, where adults were elected by their constituents and sent to represent them as equals.
She also responded to statements made by government MPs regarding the controversy.
When I see the orchestra arranged with 3 women from the government benches, taking the time away from their busy, hectic portfolios. We have the Minister of Finance. You hardly hear her. We have our foreign affairs person with all the turmoil we have going on in policy. And then there's Juliet Cuthbert. I'm not sure what she does. But when you have these 3 women leaving their substantive portfolios to be used as pawns in a written script, written mostly, maybe, by their male directors, to come out and parrot something that they didn't even watch the full clip.
And Ms. Burchell insists that she will not be silenced. Shamela Pullen, TVJ News. Come
Come now, comrades. Come, comrades, just type amen in the chat because Nikisha Burchell was, you know, now can manage her in a parliament. Cuthbert Flynn, I don't know what she does. Somebody type amen in the chat. We have to go to Bishop Hepburn. Bishop Hepburn, come help me now. Come. We have to aim. Sakata.
Aim. Sakata. We are mash up, you know. Fire under the Holy Ghost. Every crisis, every condition, every operation of hell. Fire, Bishop. I got your back. Fire. Jesus Christ, watch the operation. Jesus Christ, Eastwood Park Road. Come on. Cover your pastor. Going, Bishop. Take down the Illuminati. Take down the voodoo. Take down the Freemason. Take down the witches. Take down the warlock. Take down the Wabiaism. Him under the Holy Ghost, you know, left him.
I don't know what Juliet Cuthbert Flynn does in Parliament, either Nikisha Burchell. I don't know what purpose she serves. But I don't know why Nikisha Burchell should apologize. So why are you people going after Nikisha Burchell like that? You know, I find it very interesting. Apologize for what? We need an apology from the Prime Minister for how he has totally neglected the poor and vulnerable in our nation. The Prime Minister needs to apologize for putting on $18 billion worth of taxes on the poor people in this country after such a major hurricane, a category 5. He needs to apologize for raiding the NHT and misusing the NHT from its intended purpose. He needs to apologize for even running in the election without his statutory declarations being certified. You've brought a total disrepute to the nation of Jamaica. Desmond McKenzie needs to apologize for his poor performance as local government minister. Tufton must apologize and step down for being an incompetent minister of health for ending the Cuban program. Over 50 years Jamaicans and Cubans benefited from the medical program. Over 50 years. And what did you all do with it? You severed the relationship. Cuba will never forget. Never forget. Darrell Vaz must apologize and step down for squandering taxpayers' dollars. About $1.4 billion on old buses for rural school bus program. The Auditor General will be launching a probe into that scandal very soon. Where are the apologies for that? Where are the apologies for the mismanagement of the country's resources? The misuse of taxpayers' dollars? Where are the apologies from the government for their corruption, skullduggery and nepotism? Where are the apologies? You want apologies for what? The truth? The truth is an offense. That is the truth. But we will not be bullied into apologies. The Speaker of the House is a disgrace. The blatant bias and her inability to strike a balance in the House of Parliament must be called out. But I recognize that people are very intimidated by Nikisha Burchell, you know. Very intimidated by Nikisha Burchell. I'm not sure it's what Nikisha Burchell do to them. I don't know who for Khan she step on or who for White Fall she nyam. But there seems to be a coordinated fight against Nikisha Burchell. Or what? And because she did say some yam up by the yam hill need to dig up, and persons say is Yamed Nikisha Burchell called Juliet Holness. She never called Juliet Holness Yamed. She's I don't know. Oh my God, I tell you. I wonder why is it the people them don't like Nikisha Burchell. She's witty, you know. She's very witty, and she chooses her words very carefully. Right? Yeah, man. I can tell you. They have something against Nikisha Burchell. But that's not going to work. Nikisha Burchell will not apologize for the truth. I mean, listen, man. Speak of the House. If you are unable to manage the role, step down. If you believe that, you know, being undermined in the House of Parliament and nobody respects you, I mean, save yourself the trouble and the raised blood pressure and just step down. You know, step down. It is already unbecoming of a democratic state like Jamaica to have the wife of the Prime Minister being the Speaker of the House. It makes absolutely no sense. Just you know, step down, step aside, so we can all move on. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, NARA, the law passed by the government, received the stamp of approval from the Governor General. Well, I can tell you this. The Prime Minister wants to tell us that he kept a distance from the appointment of Anthony Anderson as being the chief executing officer. That's what the Prime Minister said. I believe otherwise. I believe Anthony Anderson was always the person in mind to become the CEO of NARA. And as we know, you know, Anthony Anderson is just merely the figurehead for NARA. He will be taking instructions from Mr. Holness. What Mr. Holness is trying to tighten these days is how best he can get his biddings done without anything being pointed at him. That much I can tell you. But the opposition raised an alarm about it. We're going to get to it. But listen to this. I kept a distance statement from the Prime Minister.
Welcome back to Primetime News.
Special welcome to viewers on onespotmedia.com and those of you watching on TVJ International in the Cayman Islands.
Up first this evening, I kept a distance. That clarification from Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness on the appointment of former Commissioner of Police Major General Anderson as CEO of the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA.
Major Anderson, who is currently serving as the ambassador to the United States, was selected out of a pool of over 80 applicants. Our reporter Marta Lyons was at the post-cabinet press briefing and filed this report.
In the law, he's the chief executive officer, but I'm going to call him the chief executing officer, a man who will get things done.
A major announcement. Major General Anthony Anderson appointed CEO of NARA, and the Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness making it clear that he had no involvement in the selection.
I was only informed of the end result, so just in case anybody thought that I kept a distance for good reason.
Mr. Holness noted, however, that they spoke before the announcement was made.
I had a brief discussion with Tony last evening, and I welcomed him. The appointment will be effective the 1st of June. So we are on the road now with NARA.
The interview and review process was led by a panel which included the chairman of the Public Service Commission, the cabinet secretary, and representatives from the Transformation Implementation Unit in the Ministry of Finance, the Port Authority of Jamaica, and the National Road Operating and Construction Company Limited.
They did quite a bit of work behind the scenes to ensure that the right selection was made. The final decision came down to someone who has served the country very well.
Now, Mr. Anderson has served as head of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and was later named ambassador to the United States. But with this appointment, Mr. Holness says Mr. Anderson will have to step away from that role as ambassador.
As fate would have it, I had tasked him to review the state's response to Hurricane Beryl, which would have included a review of all the entities involved in the response, but specifically a review of ODPEM. So he is already in proximity to these issues.
Mr. Holness said there were 85 applications for the post. That number was narrowed down to 7, 3 applications from Jamaica and 4 from international applicants.
I can't go into the reasons for the selections. Obviously, they would have compared resumes, experience. But one thing I can say, I have great confidence in Ambassador Anderson. He would obviously have great skills in leading national institutions. He led 2 of the most important institutions in Jamaica, the JDF and the JCF.
Now the NARA bill, which was shrouded in controversy and had a marathon debate between government and opposition members, is now legally binding.
So in my hands today is actually the law, physically represented. It's no longer the NARA bill, it's the NARA Act.
Romarda Lyons, TVJ News.
Why is Anthony Anderson being promoted as the savior of Jamaica? All of a sudden, this man is going to solve all our problems by being the CEO of NARA. Well, I can tell you this, when he was Commissioner of Police, I'm getting to understand that we had the most unprecedented records of murders in this nation, where everything was just going bad. Not just 12 months being ambassador in Washington, in New York, and you are now being transported to being the CEO of NARA. I'm just trying to understand why. You have great confidence in Mr. Anderson being the CEO of NARA, yet you had nothing to do with his appointment. So it's just so coincidental that you have no problem with Anthony Anderson. You have no problem with Anthony Anderson being CEO of NARA. But you had nothing to do with it. You had no influence over the appointment of the CEO that will have to answer to you. What are we looking at as this man's accomplishment that qualifies him to be the CEO of NARA? I don't buy this argument about him being former commissioner of police and head of defense and being in some department in disaster management. That's foolishness. Because NARA, on paper at least, speaks to nothing about having a military personnel being at the helm of it. NARA should be about reconstruction and resilience, according to the Prime Minister and his administration. Right? It is more civilian based more than anything else. We're not going to war. We're not recovering from a war. We're recovering from a natural disaster that is supposed to now see an effort from the government through the NARA to benefit the people of this country. What does Anthony Anderson has to do with NARA? I don't see the correlation. If I'm wrong, correct me. But I don't think Anthony Anderson is the best fit to be the CEO of NARA. Not only that, the opposition is questioning how the decision was made. Peter Bunting, what do you have to say, sir?
Meanwhile, the opposition PNP is questioning the appointment of Major General Anthony Anderson to lead NARA. We caught up with opposition spokesman on citizen security and productivity, Peter Bunting. Shamela Pullen reports.
More questions than answers. That's the opposition's response to the appointment of former Commissioner of Police and Jamaica's ambassador to the United States, Major General Anthony Anderson. Among the questions being raised is what gave him the edge over the other applicants.
Was the initial recruitment exercise a failure in that it didn't turn up any suitable candidates? And if so, does that point to the concern that qualified professionals would have, given the controversial nature of the whole NARA structure and just the shambolic approach?
Mr. Bunting also questioned the transparency of the selection process.
Did General Anderson apply in the initial process, or was he handpicked by the Prime Minister for this role? We know he has had a close personal relationship with the Prime Minister, first as his national security advisor, then he was his pick for Commissioner of Police. And it would suggest that there are very few qualified professionals available to the government, both locally and in the diaspora, if you keep having to go back to the same tight circle of persons for every appointment.
The opposition has long questioned aspects of the NARA legislation, and although it has now been enacted into law, the PNP maintains that several deficiencies still need to be addressed.
We continue to have concerns about NARA. The supposed oversight body, JAMRAC, I think it's shortened as the acronym. The opposition leader has been invited to nominate someone, but when he asked for a terms of reference, which would inform the selection of his nominee weeks ago, up to now that has not been provided by the Prime Minister or the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister. So the whole thing is proceeding in a very ad hoc way. It doesn't build any confidence in NARA. And, I have nothing personal against Ambassador Anderson. However, the whole process of appointing him just over a year ago, presenting his credentials, etc., and then recalling him prematurely, raises a lot of questions.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not making sense for me. And I'll tell you why. Because I did a little reading. Find it very interesting why Anthony was, Tony, as the Prime Minister referred to him as, seemed very familiar, awfully familiar, I must say, Mr. Prime Minister. I'm not sure if that was I think that was intentionally done by you. At this point in time, I think you're very calculated. I think you want persons to perceive that you and Mr. Anthony Anderson are friends, hearing that you people are cousins. So to say, Tony, I don't know, you're just trying to rub it in the faces of the Jamaican people, eh? Wow. It's so sad. But the primary criticisms and concerns surrounding Anthony Anderson's appointment as CEO of NARA center on three key issues. We're going to play the documentary. I'm getting to understand that the documentary by Noel Phillips is up. Somebody confirm that for me in the chat. If so, we spend the next 5 minutes wrapping up the NARA issue, then we jump over to the documentary by Noel Phillips. Remember to like up the live. 102 more likes to go. Let us get the likes, ladies and gentlemen. 500 likes every time we gather in this wonderful fashion. Yeah, I'm telling you, interesting times in Jamaica. no engineering background. Critics highlight that Anderson is a career military and law enforcement official, not a civil engineer or urban planner. And if NARA is supposed to reconstruct and to rehabilitate infrastructure, I'm trying to see how Mr. Anderson's background falls in tandem with the expectations that the CEO is expected to show. Greek Jamaica is saying no. Greek Jamaica, what are the qualifications that Anthony Anderson has that qualifies him to be the CEO of NARA? I am getting this information right from the some of the articles that we've been pulling up from the Glean and other places. Tell me. He has a bachelor in degree. He has a bachelor degree in civil engineering. I'm talking about his experience in civil engineering. It is one thing to have a bachelor degree or to hold a title. We're talking about his experience though. Because I have a degree in pol sci. I'm not a politician. Or I'm considered a political scientist. But I have no experience in Gordon House as a parliamentarian or as a politician. It is one thing to have the knowledge. It's a different thing though to have the executing experience in the field. So I'm asking the scope that NARA will take in leading this national reconstruction, right? The question still holds Greek Jamaica. Is Anthony Anderson qualified based on experience to lead such a massive project like NARA? Remember, NARA will be leading every single thing when it comes to reconstruction and resilience. Before we know that he and the Prime Minister are friends. I want to argue from a place of qualification first, before we get into the nepotism. Before we get into the nepotism of it all, because we know nepotism is destroying this country. I am talking about qualifications. Having a civil engineer degree doesn't necessarily mean that you are qualified to run off NARA. Because even if, and again, we're just getting the information from other persons, who are in the chat. Him running off the engineering regiment of the JDF, again, is he qualified to run off a national response after a Category 5 hurricane like Hurricane Melissa? Because JDF is a speck compared to what Melissa did to Jamaica. How many how many of the runs have Anthony Anderson undertake to qualify him to lead such a charge that NARA is demanding? I'm trying to understand how just having a degree or being the head of a department in JDF qualifies you to take on such an enormous task, especially with the powers that the CEO of NARA will wield over in JDF. He was held accountable. Let's go on with the facts here. Detractors question his ability to personally oversee massive technical construction and climate resiliency projects. I'm asking again, Anthony Anderson, can we see a project that he has oversight of? Is there something in his resume that can tell me he is able to oversee massive technical construction and climate resiliency projects. Great Jamaica, with all due respect, my friend, I don't just want to hear that he was the head of some department. I don't just want to hear about what degree he has. Show me the projects that he has oversaw or overseen. I want to be very, very frank here. Show me the climate resiliency projects. Show me the technical construction projects. Show me where he has oversight, or he has shown oversight over massive projects like what NARA will undertake. With the billions and billions of dollars that will be going through NARA, is Anthony Anderson qualified to oversee that amount of money? Opponents argue that relying entirely on hired subordinates for technical decisions creates systemic managerial vulnerabilities, and that is exactly what I expect Anthony Anderson to do. Him being CEO, he'll not be doing the work. He's going to just simply hire technocrats. So again, if that is what the CEO is going to do, which is to just hire the technocrats and hire the people who can actually do the job, this man is just going to be another figurehead. He's just going to be another figurehead getting a big salary that will only instruct the technocrats as to what projects to undertake, who they should help to rebuild, and so on. It doesn't make any sense for me, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you hear Peter Bunting on the secrecy regarding the recruitment. I just before we get over, we're gonna get over to the documentary now. But the opposition People's National Party has demanded clarity on whether Anderson actually participated in the global recruitment drive. Who wants some answers there? Let's talk about the abrupt diplomatic recall. Critics question the governance logic of pulling Anderson from his vital diplomatic post as ambassador to the United States after less than a year. Not understanding the logic there either. Political opponents argue the appointment feels reactionary rather than a result of a meticulously planned executive search. I want to mention this before we jump over to the documentary. Let us talk about the concentration of power. Public commentary on social media has expressed feelings or fatigue over the administration constantly appointing the same individual to every major national crisis role. JDF, JCF, and now NARA. Critics argue this reliance blocks a diverse pool of younger specialized Jamaican professionals from leading critical state agencies. And I want us to just look at the trend. We've been seeing this over and over again, recycling the same set of people to fill important roles. I'm hearing that there was a what? There was a super chat. Thank you, Jamaica Love, for the $10 in the super chat. Let us all thank Jamaica Love for the $10. Ladies and gentlemen, feel free to support the super chat. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So I want us though to look at what we're seeing here. It is a recycling of the same set of people over and over and over and over again. Now that I've raised questions about his competence, the blatant nepotism is clear as day. We saw it with Dennis Strong over by the FID, and we're seeing Tony, my boy, Tony, my good old friend, being appointed to be the CEO of NARA. Ladies and gentlemen, the nepotism and the cronyism continues to damage Jamaica's chances of escaping corruption and truly seeing a better Jamaica. I don't want to hear about Tony's degree or what position Tony held. I want to see what the man has accomplished. I want to see what he has accomplished and what tasks he took under his wing and executed. I mean, Tony Anderson, you're free to come on the perspective and reassure us. But I've been doing my readings and I've not seen any major projects from you. Feel free to debunk me. Feel free to give me the facts. But what disaster did you help Jamaica to come out of? What, Hurricane Beryl? Where $100 million were not spent? What hurricane did? What disaster? What disaster did you help us to come out of? What disaster? Remember the law. Because Naira is now law. The law is very vague when it comes to bouncing back out of Melissa. There's hardly anything mentioned in the Naira bill about Melissa. For all we know, Naira will never address anything regarding Melissa. For all we know, Naira will just be another gateway for foreign investors and Tony's friends to just secure some more land, build out some more hotel, build out some more scheme. I don't know why I'm talking, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why I'm talking.
And if the enemy are fire, you can't stand up like stooge. You can't go on like a fool. You have to fire back. Somebody load up and say, pop, 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 pop. Lord God, badam, bam, bam, bam. Jesus Christ, what is what? Pop, 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 pop.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the documentary, am I reading right? Can somebody read this for me, please? No, on a serious note, can somebody read this for me, please? I may not be seeing right. I may not be seeing right. I might be off my rockers. I don't even want to see it. I don't want somebody type where you see. Somebody type it out in the chat because I may not be reading right. No. This might be AI. This must be AI. JCF expects 80% rollout of body-worn cameras by 2029. Ladies and gentlemen, with all that is happening in Jamaica regarding the body-worn cameras and the conversations surrounding it, the JCF is going to wait until 2029 to roll out 80% of the body-worn cameras by 2029. You cannot make this up. Wow. I wonder how many more deaths will we experience without the use of body-worn cameras. I wonder how many more incidents like Granville will we have to see. I wonder how many more incidents like the Cherry Tree Lane incident and the 70. I wonder how many more extrajudicial killings we will have to see happening in Jamaica before 2029, before we get 80% of the body-worn camera. This is a joke. This is madness. This is madness. And the labor rights continue to gobble up that the JCF is the best thing since sliced bread. We have a couple of them in the chat every night. Welcome labor ranks who continues to eat the filthy sandwiches. Good night to you. So we will have to wait here. And the reason why I am so disgruntled by this is because the conversation surrounding body-worn cameras is not a new conversation. Why are we just taking the procurement of body-worn cameras seriously? It's a disgrace, and the illiterate labor rights, the illiterate labor rights don't see a problem with this. For years we've been asking for body-worn cameras. For years. And you're telling me that the stupid labor rights don't see that to wait until 2029 before we get 80% of the body-worn cameras is not a call for concern. Thank you, Cynthia Campbell, for the $10. Thank you so much. Let us all say thanks to Cynthia. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, feel free to support this super chat. It is up and running. For years, people have been asking for body-worn cameras. And we have to experience some more extrajudicial killings without no transparency. Because you know what they're going to tell us? You know what they're going to tell us? That we will see body-worn cameras coming in, but we won't see at least 80% until 2029. So, you know, I just want you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, we can go through the rest of this year without no new body-worn cameras coming into the country, you know. Because we don't know how they're going to procure the 80%. So for the rest of the year, we may not have any new body-worn cameras coming into the country. It's a disgrace. Anyway, we want to hear from Comrade Leader Mark Golding in the documentary. We want to hear from Jen Sek, Dr. Dayton Campbell, and all the other participants in the documentary. Let's go over there. The context is that Jamaica is not ready for the hurricane season, ladies and gentlemen. And the journalist did his part in amplifying the voices of the opposition and others as it relates to the incompetence of the JLP administration. We need 80 more likes to get to 500. Let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get there. Let's listen to this documentary. Let's listen.
The biggest and strongest hurricane ever to hit Jamaica. Category 5 winds topping 190 miles an hour. Hundreds of homes and entire communities vanished underwater. Footage captured in the eye of the storm from inside this plane showed just how powerful Melissa was.
As I pulled through the door, that's the time the house fell down.
I represent the constituency where it made landfall, and my accommodation was also right in the eye of the storm as well.
Through survivor testimonies and eyewitness accounts from those who lived through it.
I saw people in Petersfield High School who were being treated like dogs. They never had even tarpaulins.
This is the story of the critical hours and the painful months that followed after one of the Caribbean's most devastating storms.
A lot more lives were lost because of the government's negligence. And that is the most horrifying thing about this.
In terms of the government's efforts, I don't think it was well handled. There's still people living in the hurricane shelters from last October.
I don't have a home. I'm underneath a plastic.
Did chaos, confusion, and delay by the government make a national disaster even worse. Jamaica, one of the most famous islands in the Caribbean. A country of nearly 3 million people. But in just hours from now, a hurricane is about to rewrite its history forever.
Melissa, you see what you do with me? Look there. When you see what Melissa do with me, tear me down. Look there, we have to stand up a whole long zinc. Everything Melissa tear with Ocha.
Cartoon and her 2-year-old granddaughter are both trapped in their home, which is being battered by the storm's powerful winds. She captured this video of her entire experience.
Melissa, me not lie to you, I'm gonna never take your money. When I was in the house shop with my granddaughter, when I see the rooftop comes off, and I hear that the zinc, they are bombing, licking, and I hear like the sky drop, like, because the only thing you could say, drop some type of sound that you hear. It was so heavy, so I keep watching my house top. Watch it up, I think. Okay. It's gone. Look what it's sitting there doing.
Just moments after Cartoon stopped filming, her home collapsed.
As I pulled through the door, that's the time the house fell down. When the house fell down, I said, oh my God, what I didn't feel anyway. I was just happy. Thank God nothing happened to me in there. But I think like 2 to 3 weeks after, since now, it really started to jerk me and start to affect me because I see death. What disaster. Sometimes I just frighten and I just remember if the concrete did fell down, it would fell because the room little, so it would fell crossway my back here and bump my head in the wall, which the baby maybe would drop out of my hand and drop underneath it.
We did say that the system is a Category 5 hurricane at this time. That means it will cause catastrophic damage, life-threatening damage.
In the aftermath of the storm, 45 people lost their lives, and many neighborhoods were swallowed up by the floods caused by Melissa. Early estimates showed more than 150,000 homes were damaged or destroyed.
When you went into some of these communities, you literally could smell the human feces. You could smell dead bodies, both animal and humans. You had stagnant waters behind people's houses, and the water levels are rising. You had elders who were in classrooms that are messed up in feces and there's nobody there to clean them. You had people on roadways and sidewalks that are hungry and needed food. You had literally people on the roadways saying, help, help, we need food. They literally started to hold down the vehicles, trying to get food from them.
My son foot them broke, me asthma patient, my husband have high blood pressure, everything gone through. We don't have no food, no water, no.
For survivors, the nightmare did not end when the storm passed.
That's why the tube, we have the tube in. You can't see it. It says pass straight.
So where you want to go? What kind of help you need, Grandpa?
What kind of what?
What kind of help you need? What you want to do?
Me just want somewhere to go and get. Me have a place can put a building in.
Many are still struggling to rebuild their lives. Among them is 83-year-old Eric. He lost everything, and his health is now deteriorating.
People lost a lot. People lost their lives. A lot more lives were lost after the hurricane because of the government's negligence. A lot more lives were lost because of the government's negligence. And that is the most horrifying thing about this. The fact that we could have so much to do so much more and we did so little with it. And we're okay. Jamaica, one love. Come to Jamaica and feel all right. And we must smile and pose for pictures. I don't understand it.
The people were saying that they're not seeing the government doing what they need to do. Had it not been for organizations like myself and other charities and outreach out there, the artists that were on the ground to have impacted probably would have turned into a civil war in Jamaica already.
I'm asking all of my fans from your heart to give anything you can, no matter how small, it always will go towards helping people.
Okay, can you hear me? All right. Over here, I have members of our team who are going to be helping us to document this stuff that we need to know: name, age, gender, circumstance, if you have any illnesses, if you have any urgent, what you call it, cuts and that kind of thing, if you need to get in contact with anybody.
It was horrifying to see Jamaica in this state, our island, in that state. It was horrifying to see the people experiencing that kind of distress. As a young, passionate Jamaican who have so much to contribute, these are the moments that cause cognitive dissonance. You know? Disillusionment. That's why so many of us are leaving Jamaica brain drain. We can't take the heartache.
The government insisted throughout it was doing everything possible, mobilizing search and rescues and aid supplies as the scale of the disaster became clear. But in the parish of Westmoreland, the area hit hardest by Melissa, the horror of the storm wasn't only the destruction of homes, but the human loss.
I represent the constituency where it made landfall, and my accommodation was also right in the eye of the storm as well. So there was significant damage to my personal dwelling. The damage to the constituency, though, was more devastating because quite a lot of the residents did not have stable accommodations. They had board houses, and those did not stand up well. But probably the most chilling thing was when I saw mothers with young children outside. That probably was what had the most impact on me. There were a few bodies that were there for a prolonged period of time, and some members in at least 2 of the communities had to bury them. They've been subsequently exhumed.
The situation was very apocalyptic. When you travel from I would say mid St. Elizabeth heading west, it was just a wasteland. You know, every light post virtually was down, wires were everywhere, people were just walking around in shock, house after house destroyed. So there was a sense of doom, you know, that people had to reconcile themselves to their lives being absolutely turned upside down.
As the floodwaters began to recede, another storm was gathering force, not in the skies, but inside Jamaica's political establishment.
We ain't get no vote at Westmoreland. We drive past with my helicopter and man to go here. Bad mind Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
Questions over Prime Minister Andrew Holness's response quickly became a national conversation. Opposition MPs claimed their communities were deliberately abandoned in the response.
If I said I was surprised, I would be lying. I wasn't surprised at all, because that is the nature of the individuals who are in government currently. That's how they operate. And I thought it would have been a defining moment to say to these persons that this is now beyond the realm of politics and we need to come together for this response. And when you look at the electoral map of the country, Westmoreland and Hanover are all the constituencies in those 2 parishes are represented by the People's National Party. And when the Prime Minister went out in an helicopter, He went to St. Elizabeth, and then he flew across to St. James.
Both of which are represented by his party.
Totally ignoring Westmoreland, which is where landfall was made. And he went on to say that Black River is ground zero. And so I think the neglect of the people of Westmoreland and Hanover started from then, because the mobilization of resources went based on what the Prime Minister was saying.
Bob Marley say rain no fall upon one man house top. You know, everybody was affected. PNP, JLP, no P.
Jamaica has gone through what I can call one of its worst period. Our infrastructure has been severely compromised. St. Elizabeth is the breadbasket of the country, and that has taken a beating. The entire Jamaica has felt the brunt of Melissa.
The evidence of that couldn't be more clear in the small town of Petersfield.
Maros is marooned.
For days, residents were cut off from the outside world. Denisha formed a team of volunteers who became first responders on motorbikes.
They don't care about poor people, they don't care about country people. But I don't think they realize that history will not forget, history will remember this time. History will remember. So it is politicized. And at the same time, in the same breath, I do have to say the PNP also have to stand to account to why it is that Westmoreland is so underdeveloped.
Pinnacle. That was a couple of years ago. That's almost 9 years ago.
The Prime Minister came and I explained to him that we were doing work on the ground, and he told me that he knew, he saw. I want to believe that he's human. I want to believe when he says that he feels what the people feel. But I can't trust him. I can't trust him because he has allowed the mismanagement of so much funds on his watch during your tenancy as the Prime Minister, the leader of this nation. I had a lot of other hopes, and I'm very, very disappointed. Very, 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 very disappointed. I will not use heartbroken because I've already figured that out, because it's not your fault. You are also a slave to the system that raised you. So it's cool. I'm just disappointed because you can make better decisions. So, but I'm not disappointed enough to stop fighting though, because we have to be held accountable. That's how we grow as a nation.
This school became a shelter and was meant to be a safe space. Instead, it became a place of desperation. Families slept crammed together with little sanitation. This grandmother, who suffered a head injury after falling, is finally receiving help.
I'm not cloud chasing and so, but it was people like me who went out there 3-4 times for the week to see, even when I had my health that was crashing, I was still on the battlefield serving the people, because I saw people in Petersfield High School who were being treated like dogs. They never had even tarpaulins, never even had the basic things to survive. Children were there in cold. One time they thought it was a COVID outbreak. It wasn't a COVID outbreak. All of them had a flu, a cold and a flu, and nobody was there to treat them.
A demonstration of the layered response of the government.
In terms of the government's efforts, I don't think it was well handled. I think that the amount of funding that was provided has been inadequate, and I think that the way in which the programs have been executed have been disorganized. There's still people living in the hurricane shelters from last October, and the hurricane season is almost upon us. June 1, the new hurricane season begins.
in this disaster, many of the shelters that were prescribed as shelters were destroyed. And so some of the areas that you're seeing functioning as shelters were never prescribed as shelters. We just had to use them in the immediate passage of the hurricane. So
I had reached out to the Prime Minister from very early after this happened and said, establish a broad stakeholder committee which the two political parties would be on to kind of give a governance oversight over how relief in particular was being distributed. That was never done, unfortunately. But I think that was a mistake because it meant that there was a fair amount of distrust as to whether things were being handled equitably.
Just go over there for your food.
Politics certainly got in the way of saving lives. For instance, many people argue that because the Westmoreland is totally orange at this time, where the response in Westmoreland is not as good as the response in St. Elizabeth. But when you think about it, all of the response across Western Jamaica is chaka chaka and baga baga. Nobody is getting any help. However, those who are the things are being speed up for, people are saying yes, them are labor right. My problem with Jamaica right now, it should be apolitical at this moment to fixing the people's lives in Western Jamaica.
This is what remains of Cartoon's home. Melissa did not just show the brutal force of Mother Nature. It exposed the fragility of the systems meant to protect people when everything falls apart.
I saved 2 mattresses and my 2 bed base. I lose everything else. I lose like dresser, whatnot, dresser drawer, I lose all of those. Refrigerator, I lose all of those. My machine, I lose all of those. The government take up the whole of Jamaica and let down the whole world. It's out. It's done. It's done.
Nearly 7 months later, she is still homeless.
This is my tent, my little place that I fix it. I take my hand and make this here from scratch to start. So I put my little stove in the corner so I could table there, take the bed foot there.
Inside this makeshift tent is where she sleeps, with her belongings scattered around.
Sometimes I make a mockery of it when I said I'm going home. I said I'm going by my tarpaulin. I'm going underneath my plastic.
One thing put most of the clothes and stuff like that.
That couldn't be a home. You couldn't get electricity and plastic. You wouldn't get a light bill and a water rate for plastic. So I don't have a home. I'm underneath a plastic. I don't have a home.
When the rain fall, I have to went over to the church to get shelter. That doesn't mean I'm wetting. I'm not wetting. But the reason why I have to go, the generator is right there at the door.
A lot of time I'm hungry. A lot of time I short of food. I have no bathroom. I have no toilet. No bathing area. I have to bathe. I have to poo same place sometime in the tarpaulin where I live. I have to shower on the outside, right beside the tarpaulin where I live. I have to cook same place inside.
The government claims that recovery efforts are now accelerating to help those like Cartoon. But questions remain about where millions of dollars donated has gone and why it is taking so long to reach survivors sleeping in shelters, under tents, or inside damaged homes.
The cash money donated from fundraising drives by the government. There was a telethon that I was asked to participate in to encourage people to give money, which I did because it was a national effort. And over 1.4 billion Jamaican dollars worth of, in various currencies, was received in cash. And that's at the end of February, 4 months after the hurricane hit. Only 20-odd million of it had been spent. Less than 2% of it had been spent to help people.
Let me give you an example of a representative in a constituency that was severely affected. There's been no allocation to address any of the damage to the roadways. 0. Significant numbers of persons within the communities are still without water. We still have persons without electricity, approximately just over 1,000 of them in eastern Westmoreland without electricity. And this is almost 7 months later. If you look at the roofs program again, which is the major program for the government, the point was made that if you had minor damage, you'd benefit from $75,000. It's about $500 US, just under. And if you had major damage, you'd get 200,000 Jamaican again, it's about $1,200 US. And if you had severe damage, then you get 500,000, which is about 3,200 US. Now, we had 156,000 dwellings, houses that were affected. 40 plus thousand falls into major, and into severe, you have close to 20,000. If you multiply 20,000 by the 500,000, you're at the 10 billion. So by their numbers, it tells you that there is no way they would have assisted the majority of the persons. And that is why, if you were to go out now into the community, you would still see about 50% of the houses still have tarpaulins on them.
Did my meetings with the government help in my coordination to help people? It was a waste of my time. To be very, very, very honest with you, at the end of the day, I could have spent that time and redirected it to actually functioning to do more work. Instead, I wasted time sending proposals and having meetings and sending reports and assessments to the government and waiting on them to respond to finally support what we were doing. And 7 months later, no. So I found that there was a lot of gender-based decision-making that happened and continues to happen. The government also doesn't have as innovative ideas as people on the grassroots and the periphery, the creatives, have. So it really was a waste of my time, respectfully.
It is the worst response we have ever seen in a crisis in the land. We're literally a month away from the next hurricane season, and at least 200,000 families are still in the dilapidated state at what is happening in my country. Egos and political interferences of men who should put away their selfish egos in the interest of the people. That is why we never got where we needed to have been.
It looks and sounds ephemeral, meaning, you know, like it's inanimate and it's abstract, this business of the economy. But if you have a good economy, people will be able to help themselves. A good economy helps everyone.
I think he's failing the people of Western Jamaica. And I think that it's partly maybe as a result of the fact that he didn't get a lot of support electorally in the elections last September from that part of Jamaica, but that shouldn't be a factor. You know, that really isn't relevant. You know, as I say, Bob Marley say, rain or fall upon one man, house stop. You know, everybody was affected. PNP, JLP, no P. So at a time like this, you can't bring politics into it. And of course, he would deny that he does, but the facts speak for themselves. The scanty efforts made, the slow pace with which things are being addressed indicate that there is I would say, inadequate attention. And I think he has let down the people of Western Jamaica.
Melissa may have broken parts of Jamaica, but it never broke the spirit of its people, because in the middle of the destruction, when help was delayed and hope was running thin, ordinary people carried each other.
Eternal Father, bless our land. Guide us with your mighty hand. Keep us free from not just evil powers, but keep us free from environmental crisis. Because if we were to have that in this season, oh my Lord, my Father from up above would have to come down in tenderly love and divinely intervene. We can't manage anymore. Earth are run red. Jamaica are run dry. We are in a hopeless, destitute state right now. I'm asking for the Father from up above to give our vision, give our leaders vision, else we'll surely perish. Give us vision.
Well done, Noel Phillips, the producer for that documentary. That was well put together. You know, it really reminded us of the many woes that a lot of our Jamaicans are experiencing today. A big shout out to Comrade Leader Mark Golding and the Gen Sec, the other participants. Yes, of course, we saw a familiar face, Andre Stevens from PDTV, and all the other participants. This was a well put together presentation, you know, really and truly showcasing the realities that we are facing. I just wish more persons would see this video. You know, I think this Prime Minister is the worst. I think he's the worst Prime Minister that we've seen. Yeah, this is the worst Prime Minister we've seen. There's absolutely no way Jamaica should be so behind when it comes to recovery post Hurricane Melissa. The wealth of resources that is at the Prime Minister's disposal. When you talk about the donations, when you talk about the aid, when you talk about the support, remember, you know, it was the bloggers and the YouTubers and the artists. It was all of them, myself included. I was a part of it last year when I was by PDTV. It was a whole lot of average Jamaicans who started the move to rescue the West. So the Prime Minister got a jump start by Jamaican people and the bloggers and the YouTubers and the dancehall artists. The Prime Minister and his administration, they had time to put together a strategic plan. They had time because Jamaicans were already on the ball. They had time. The first responders, the dancehall artists, they were already doing what the Prime Minister failed to do. So he could have taken that time and put together a proper mechanism to really and truly impact the lives of those in the West. 7 months in, and they are taking $770 million to go and reduce debt out of the Solidarity Program. 1.44 billion. Only 1.8%. And Greek Jamaica, you raise a good point right there. Somebody said that I'm low. Please turn up your device. Please turn up your device. Am I low, ladies and gentlemen? We're wrapping up now though. But you raise a good point, Greek Jamaica, right there, because the Prime Minister told the people that it looks degrading for us to be throwing, giving out food like that. In our way to really, because we were showing up the government, and because it looked bad on him. Because he said that there was a scrambling. I'll never forget when the Prime Minister stood up in Parliament and said that he must admit that there was a scramble. But because the people were showing up the Prime Minister, he said, you know what, this looks a bit degraded. I have to remember the dignity. We have to preserve the dignity and the dignity of the people. In other words, we will take it from here. We will take it from here. We will bring back the dignity. The government will now intervene and we will bring back the dignity, because you bloggers and YouTubers and dancehall artists, you're all doing it for clout, and you're you know, that is what the Prime Minister said last year. And what happened after that? There was a lull. There was a silence. We heard nothing about. You remember that little gap where there was nothing being said about recovery? Nothing about recovery. There was, I think there was probably like a month and a half, or probably around 2 months, where we heard nothing about Melissa recovery, because he basically indirectly told the others to stop. And the people became forgotten. I remember that time. If anybody remember, you can confirm. There was a time when I was even asking, when last you hear anything about Melissa? There was a time when we heard nothing about Melissa, not from the government, not from our news. Nobody was saying nothing about the Melissa victims. Whether the people were doing it for views, sir, see, at least they were getting help. A lot of people do a lot of things for their own personal benefit. You had a lot of people who were giving out aid to be seen. We know people have their agendas, but at least the people were being helped. It reminds me of the Bible, you know. When the I think it was the disciples who were trying to stop people from the fakes from preaching in his name. And basically paraphrasing, Jesus said, listen man, leave them alone. They're preaching in my name. Make them go and spread it. If them fake, the wheat and the tares will grow together until the day of harvest. So what the people are doing it to be seen, leave them alone. But we allow the labor rights come out and them criticize, and no dignity, no dead, and the Prime Minister shut down the entire thing. We heard nothing of what was happening in Melissa for a time. It's like all the media outlets got a notification that, listen, we're done with this Melissa thing. It not look good for the country. It's not looking good on the government. And the despicable Andrew Holness administration. We heard nothing about Melissa. But see it here now. All I'll say is this. There needs to be a change. There needs to be a change in Jamaica. You hear them talking about 2029 before 80% of the body-worn cameras are procured. Well, former top cop Hardy Lewin scoffs at excuse for delay in full rollout of the body-worn cameras by police. And I found this article to be very interesting. I probably won't read I won't read the entire article today. Join me tomorrow for Clarion Call at 3 p.m. and we can get through the article and have some more conversations about it. But they're taking people for fools. It's true. The entire government, they are taking people for fools. The appointment of Anthony Anderson is Andrew Holness taking people for fool. The JCF telling us about 2029 being the year before 80% of the body-worn cameras are procured. It is the government and the JCF taking people for fools. 77% of the solidarity program funds going back into the consolidated funds to reduce debt. When so many Jamaicans are suffering, you just saw the documentary. It is the government taking us for fools. Raiding the NHT, not using the NHT funds for housing. It is the government taking us for fools. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn and Favour Williams and the other one, Kamina Johnson Smith, coming out and attacking Sister Birchell, but avoiding serious conversations, more meaningful discourse. It is them taking people for fool. And let me tell you just how bad Kamina Johnson Smith is. Remember last night we called out the foreign minister on her lack of concern regarding our Jamaican students in Cuba who are studying medicine. Today we heard from her. I'm not sure, is Kamina Johnson Smith listening to the perspective? Well, we won't block you, Kamina Johnson Smith. Feel free to comment every now and again. Today we're hearing from her that the Jamaican students, the medical students in Cuba, they are there by their own violation, says foreign ministry. In other words, that them choose fit there. Kamina Johnson Smith is basically saying, them choose fit there, so let them suffer. It's a disgrace. Jamaican medical students in Cuba, they're by their own violation. It's a disgrace. You all take Jamaican people for fools. The time is coming, you know. I wonder how long the wicked will reign. Mark Golding had to be the one to dip in his pocket and go for our students from Ukraine. What is Kamina Johnson Smith saying? You have the time to be criticizing Nikisha Burchell for her personal opinion. And look at your response to my criticism yesterday. You've said nothing about our Jamaican students in Cuba. And your response is that they're there on their own accord. So what? They should suffer the consequences? Don't we expect a lot of these children, students, they're on scholarships, they're expected to come back to Jamaica and be good contributing citizens to our medical field. This is the same government that is going to want those doctors to stay in Jamaica and serve. And look at how you deal with them. They're on their own violation. So what? You should not do anything? You should not assist? And then we complain when our Jamaican professionals are leaving Jamaica in droves. And then we wonder why brain drain is a crisis in our country. Join me tomorrow for Clarion Call at 3 p.m. That's where you get to call in and we have some more conversations. We can pick up tomorrow on some of those points. Let us pray. Father, we give you thanks for your mercies. We give you thanks for your grace. Thank you for the opportunity to have these meaningful discussions. Wow, there's just so much to pray about when we look in our country. Well, firstly, the students in Cuba who are crying out for assistance from the government, and we now hear the response from the foreign ministry. Lord, I pray that you will protect those who are in Cuba, specifically those who are Jamaicans, our students. I can just imagine the trauma and the fear that they are experiencing, wanting their government to help, but that help is lacking. Lord, we look at how the documentary just now reminding us of the harsh realities that many Jamaicans are facing in Westmoreland and other places, and the reluctance from the government to really and truly help in a meaningful way. How the solidarity program was raided, monies that were earmarked for a particular purpose being used for something totally different and unrelated to the issue at hand. God, we're asking for you to intervene. When we look at the JCF saying that by 2029, 80% of the body-worn cameras will be rolled out, when every other day there is another extrajudicial killing, and there's no transparency. We don't know if the allegations of shootout, if these stories are true. And every day we are losing our young men and our young women to police shootings. But there's no urgency to put these mechanisms in place so that the trust can be rebuilt again. We see NARA setting up itself to be an onslaught on Jamaica. We don't know the purpose of NARA. The purpose is not clearly defined. There's some abstract, vague rhetorics. Hardly anything in the law about Melissa. What is NARA truly about? The appointment raises a lot of questions with the opposition. But Lord, we are looking to you, the author and the finisher of our faith. We know that you are in control. So we're praying and we're asking for you, Lord, to intervene. Look down on Jamaica. Deliver Jamaica. Turn things around for your people. Strengthen your people. Cause your people to rise up, to speak up and to speak out without fear, so that we can see a better tomorrow. These and other mercies we ask. Lord, thank you for those who contributed to the super chat. Bless them, return unto them 100-fold. May their baskets never go empty and their barns never dry. Bless the viewers, bless the subscribers as we look to you and tell you thanks. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow at 3 p.m, our last day in the week for our Clarion call. Is how much likes we have? 400 and what? 70. Let's get the likes up. Is who on the live and don't like us yet? As we go, let us like the live. See you tomorrow at 3 p.m. and then at 6 p.m. for our evening program. Bye bye.
Lightning and thunder for the JLP. Corruption in the nation, what a sticky situation. Always see a degradation, innocent men at the station. Andrew and his cronies getting richer, them a big done. Talking about them helping out the poor, tell me which one. Juliet, a speaker of the house, me can't believe it. Them mashing the house in trust, but people are go feel it. The JLP, them satanic and demonic. Now war fit the youth, them prosper only fit them pocket. I beg is hamping. Corruption in the nation, what a sticky situation. Always see a degradation, innocent men at the station. Andrew and his cronies getting richer, them a big done. Talking about them helping out the poor, tell me which one. Juliet, a speaker of the house, me can't believe it. Them machine the house in trust, but people are go feel it. The JLP, them satanic and demonic. Now war fit the youth, them prosper only fit them pocket. I beg you stop it. Corruption in the nation, what a sticky situation. Always see a degradation, innocent men at the station. Andrew and his cronies getting richer, them a big done. Talking about them helping out the poor, tell me which one. Juliet, a speaker of the house, me can't believe it. Them mashing the house in trust, but people are go feel it. The JLP, them satanic and demonic. No war fit the youth, them prosper only fit them pocket. I beg you stop it. Yeah, yeah.
Bye.